First, if you start new construction, it's really obvious. These are a whole bunch of studies that have been done by the utilities of California, each documenting what they found as the construction costs for adding different products. Heat pump water heaters versus gas water heaters, infrastructure. So I'm just going to walk you through it for a moment. Starting at the left-hand side, you can see that if you're putting in a heat pump, which does both heating and air conditioning, that's cheaper by $1,000 to $3,000 than putting in an air conditioner and a furnace. When you're looking at the water heaters, because we have to put in on-demand gas water heaters in California per code, the option of putting in a heat pump water heater doesn't cost any more or any less. It's the same price. The dryers, though, dryers are about $100 more expensive if they're a gas dryer, and this is looking at the exact same models by the exact same manufacturers, just one's gas, one's electric, everything else is the same, all the buttons, the controls, etc. And it's $100 more for gas. If you're looking at a stove, it's about $100, $110 more expensive for the gas stove versus the electric stove. And then there's the plumbing. This is a significant job. You have to go all through the walls of the house with a really dangerous product, natural gas, so you have to put a lot of attention to making sure everything's sealed appropriately, test that out. It's not the same as running electricity. So each of these fixtures takes, say, $200 to $1,000, depending on how far that gas line's running, and of course, who's doing the work. It's a lot of extra money for every fixture. PG&E has shown it's about $16,000 for them to put in a lateral to each house. PG&E serves gas to Sacramento, SMUD serves electricity. So that's a large cost when you're putting in a new home in Sacramento. Then if you're building a subdivision, you have another cost to bear, and that's the low pressure gas infrastructure that goes through the streets. It's like 2-inch gas pipes, and that's $3,500 per 25 feet of linear lot that you're developing in the road. A large amount of money, because you might have a 25-foot or 50-foot or 75 or 100-foot long lot. So it adds up to tens of thousands sometimes. On the right-hand side, you see here, these are all costs that are borne in your actual utility bill. So 80% of your utility bill is the cost of the infrastructure development in order to get the gas to your home. It's not the cost of the gas. It's 80% is the pipelines. So you can see there $136 up to $480 in California. This is our pricing that we pay for 4-inch to 24-inch high-pressure distribution. And then we have $5 million to $43 million per mile of our higher pressure distribution system, 24-inch to 42-inch pipelines. And then there has to be a pressurization station every 50 to 60 miles. Those cost $80 million. Then once you get out to the wells, we have wells in California, there's wells all over the country that serve us because about 90% of the natural gas that's consumed in California is drilled elsewhere and delivered in large pipes. So the cost of each of those wells, $7 million. All of that cost is borne by people when they're paying their utility bills. None of it's free, except for the gas in the ground, but that's only 20% of the cost of your utility bill. 80% is the piping. Luckily for us, the Sacramento Municipal Utility District has some of the lowest rates in California, which are about average for the rest of the country. That's great for California since we have some of the most expensive electricity rates in the United States, excepting Hawaii. Not only is all electric potentially significantly cheaper in SMUD's territory compared to natural gas, it's also cheaper when compared to propane. So here's a good example. This is a tribal reservation development of elder housing. It's on the Hooper Reservation. We compared what if they're using really efficient propane devices versus really efficient electric devices, and then what happens if you add solar to that, which is part of the building code now. So you can see the electricity bill, when it's using propane, $28. The propane bill, that's $51. The total is $79 a month. If they go all electric but no solar, the utility bill total is $59 a month. And then if they add a solar array, it goes down to $5. Projects like this, which were developed over the last 10 years, starting around 2010 through 2020, those are the ones who set the table for the code that we have today, which is that about 2/3 of all the energy demand of the house needs to be met with solar. These are all examples of attractive California homes that have been built with significant solar arrays, like what's required in California now. This is how you can ensure that the utility bills are the least expensive in someone's home. You can use inexpensive solar paired with inexpensive grid electricity, so regardless of when you're using electricity, you always have an inexpensive energy source. One of the most important reasons why the Sacramento Municipal Utility District is pursuing electrification is because it addresses climate change. We can see this as a serious issue in California. In 2018, our state government issued a large report trying to outline the trends that they're seeing, explaining why it was so important that we electrify quickly and stop using fossil fuels. For instance, here you can see that California is getting hotter. Back in 1890, it was about 55 degrees in California on average over the course of a year. And now, 100 plus years later, it's 57 degrees, about 2 degrees warmer. Hotter weather has meant more droughts. Here you can see over that same period of time, starting back in about 1895, it was relatively wet. As it's gotten warmer over the course of this last 120 years, it's gotten drier and hotter, and we've seen deeper, longer droughts. You can see this in Sacramento. The Sacramento River itself has been getting lower flows in the spring for that whole period of time, less and less water coming off the snowmelt every year. And we're getting warmer nights. It's uncomfortable, difficult even to sleep at night when it's hot, when there's a heat wave and it doesn't get below, say, 82 degrees outside. If you don't have an air conditioner, it's just hard to sleep. These warmer nights, paired with hotter days, have meant over the last 70 years or so, a steady increase in wildfires each decade. We can see back in the 1960s, there were 45 million acres that burned. Now in the last decade, we've seen 68 million acres burn. One of the most significant of them was in 2017, which was the beginning of what we now call our fire seasons. That first started happening in 2017 with the Tubbs Fire famously, that burnt down a significant part of Santa Rosa, killed almost 70 people. And then in 2018, the Camp Fire, Sacramento saw a lot of people flee from the fire from Paradise as it burnt, but there were 85 people who didn't make it out alive. That fire also covered the city of Sacramento in smoke. You can see here an aerial photo and hear what it looked like in the downtown. We do have to face a choice. Could we use clean electricity sourced from renewable energy that doesn't have any fossil fuels contributing to climate change? Or are we going to delay dealing with fossil fuels? Here's a fun little advertisement from Nissan that illustrates that choice well, I think. Enjoy.